Hi, I'm Larissa Wachholz, a senior fellow at the Brazilian Center for International Relations based in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. CEBRI is a 25-year-old think tank dedicated to the issues of international affairs based in Brazil, the second most relevant think tank in Latin America. And it has been working on a lot of different topics of relevance to Brazilian foreign policy, 14 different issues in total. And the topics of climate justice and climate change adaptation, climate change mitigation, and the overall discussion about energy transition and ecological transition has been part of the work of CEBRI through different means. One of them has been the establishment of a specific unit dedicated to environment and climate change, which is coordinated by the Foreign Minister of Environment of Brazil, Isabella Teixeira, and counts on a number of other senior fellows that are also very specialized experts, practitioners, academics in this field. In concrete terms, besides working on publications and events that raise awareness about these topics and engage Brazilian civil society and Brazilian intellectual, economic, and academic elites in influencing decision makers about different routes to take on this topic. Besides all that, which is part of the regular work of CEBRI, for this year, 2024, Brazil is at the presidency of the G20. And CEBRI is one of the 3 Brazilian think tanks that has been coordinating the work of the T20, the gathering of think tanks under the G20 framework. The midterm conference has taken place, so it's a very recent event that brought together a lot of experts and was also a chance for the communique of the T20 to be delivered to the G20 leaders, and hoping to influence their decision making in terms of the topics that they will focus and prioritize in the G20 meetings. The energy transition topic overall has been a major issue, a major theme to be addressed in these meetings led by the T20 and also reflected on the communique, which was delivered last week. And CEBRI was a key stakeholder among the 3 think tanks to work on this topic in particular. This is a strength of CEBRI. This is an area in which CEBRI can make very relevant contributions because of its location in Rio de Janeiro, which is the city that has a lot of where a lot of the Brazilian energy companies have their seat, their headquarters, and that also allows for a forum for discussions on such topics. And CEBRI has been a leading organization on providing intellectual content and data-driven content that can help influence decision-making of Brazilian stakeholders and also G20 stakeholders within the topic of energy transition. So this has been a major contribution of the CEBRI team. CEBRI has articulated, organized, helped to finance a number of studies and reports, gatherings that helped give evidence and showcase data to make the case for different routes, different paths for the energy transition to take place within Brazil, but on an enlarged view about the G20 as well, calling attention to the aspect of stimulating private financing, private investment, and making government decisions that will encourage private investment and financing to actually take place in this area. So working on instruments to de-risk operations and advising the government to focus on policies and actions that will actually lead to an increase in private-led investments in these areas. Our biggest concern is really to demonstrate that the amount of resources needed for the energy transition to be accomplished is so big that private investors, private financiers, they have to be involved. So the main issue is how to make projects economically viable and bankable in a way that these private investors will come strong and will be able to lead the initiatives that cannot only rely on government financing or government investment, also because the budget of most of the developing countries would not support that. So how to create a legal framework, a business atmosphere that will favor investments related to the energy transition and actions that will help us fight the battles that we have ahead of us in terms of climate adaptation and climate mitigation. Our strategy in order to deal with the governance issues has been to keep a very close and clear communication with decision makers and also be at their disposal to be useful to their work. So use our competencies as a think tank, the people, the experts, the data, the evidence that we have access to subsidize instruments, policies that can help make better policy making and better policy decisions. So a clear and transparent communication with the government, trying to host joint events, trying to invite them for joint publications or taking the initiatives of introducing publications to them and making ourselves, putting ourselves at their disposal. So being able to raise resources to produce papers, documents, studies that policymakers also indicate to us that are necessary and that oftentimes they don't have the means to produce themselves. This is a contribution that think tanks can make to government decision makers, to policymakers, that can be very important to their work and that can help us overcome eventual governance issues that can arise. So at CEBRI we have been able to do that also by inviting former retired government people that have spent time in government, that know the challenges and know how to better communicate and overcome such challenges. It's also an important strategy that we have been using. Think tanks are able to invite people that have worked in the government before, former high-level officials, maybe former ministers or retired ambassadors or other sorts of public officials that have been on the government side before and know the challenges, understand the challenges and understand how to best address these challenges in order to achieve the goals that we set ourselves to, which is to influence on a positive way to the way forward that we have mapped as important. And this communication with people that have worked in the government before is also a very important step in order to ensure good governance and access to the government to bring our message forward.